Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. I'm going to pass out the agenda for people that are attending in person. And I also am going to pass out a sign-in list. And if you would take a look and find your organization or organizations, if you're officers for more than one organization, and circle your name if it's on the list and put your signature there. Or if you're a new officer, it's not on the list yet, just under the organization, put your name and what your position is. And for those of you who are attending via Zoom, would you in the comments section put your name, your organization or organizations, and what your position is in each organization, and we'll use that for your attendance feed. So this you'll just have to pass around for each one of you. You'll just pass it down the line, and then each of you should have an agenda. So how many of you here have never held a student officer position at the law school before? So this will be very new to some of you. How many here are presidents? Congratulations to the new president. How many of you are treasurers? Great. How many of you aren't officers yet, but are attending because you're thinking, maybe I want to be an officer, or maybe this will look like too much work, so I don't want to be an officer, and deciding now. Okay, so everybody here actually has a position. That's great. The pizza just got delivered, so please just go ahead and help yourself while I'm talking. You can still hear my voice. I will not be offended at all if you start getting yourself something to eat and making sure that you have lunch. So we're going to have some exciting transitions for the fall, as you know. Everything that you ever need to know about being a student officer will always be updated on the student officer page. So if you go to the current student page and go to student organizations, we will keep updating as we have new information for what things are going to be like in the new building, with the new scheduling software. All of a sudden you'll be reserving rooms that we've never heard of before. All of that's going to be updated here. There will also be another student organization meeting early in the fall, one just like today, and also one the next day for the treasurers and the president. So you'll be up to date on all the new information then. I've got my timer set because I'm starting this out. I'm going to be talking about scheduling and everything, but I guarantee you this is going to go off in the middle of me blabbing. So that will alert me that I need to stop and let Dean Leisinger and some other people talk about anything that I haven't covered yet about scheduling. But then we'll just go through the agenda and have everybody talk about their particular issues. But the first thing that you need to really understand as officers, your responsibility to make sure that the student organization website is kept up to date. So now that you've had the February elections, you'll want to be sure to send the updates to website at washburnlaw.edu. That's our new email that shows. We send that so that Director Purcell will be able to update after Director Wisniewski retires to me and to accounting at washburnlaw.edu, because they will need to make sure you have an agency signature card, all sorts of things like that. When the new officers are elected, also put a notice in the newsletter so that all the students and all the faculty and staff know who the new officers are. They won't always be going to the student organization page, but they'll like to hear that you've got your new officers. So when you are planning events, the first thing that you'll want to do is take a look at the event scheduling policy. All of you should be familiar with this. It's important to realize that it's on a first come, first served basis, excluding classes. They always take precedence. But that first come, first served basis means that you want to plan ahead, but you also need to put in the area that you're talking about what you're going to have, make it very, very specific, because you don't want to have it be applied that it's just an officer meeting and then it turns out that you're having speakers and all of that, because that's a whole different event. And what we want to do, since we're a fairly small law school and we've got a very active student body, we don't want to have too many events so that the poor speakers look at a little paltry audience and they go, oh, what did I spend my time coming here? There's like 5 people in a huge room. So we limit it to no more than 2 events with outside speakers. And Ms. Bylander has the unenviable job of looking at the event scheduling request, and she determines like, hey, is this something where we don't want to have 2 speakers talking about torts on the same day? Or is this something where we think that we'll have an overlap in audience? So 3Ls want to attend this event, but in the next room, 3Ls really want this event. So you want to put as much detail as possible. The first thing you'll want to do in doing your scheduling is go to the calendar. If you don't mind hitting that, Director Wisniewski. Go to the events calendar and check out what your date, what you think your date that you want is, and see what's already on the calendar. So don't ask for a day or a room that's already taken. Once you've looked at that event calendar, then it's time to go to the form. And the form is incredibly important to use. Always use the form, because by using this form, you've got backup. It won't be just Miss Bylander. It will be like we try not to let her take a day off, but once in a while she's allowed to take a day off. And this way, her backup will see the event. It also gives you proof that you asked for this event, and if she approved it, that it was approved on this date. So if there's ever a dispute, man, you've got a timestamp. It's like, here it is. So the thing that you want to do is put all this information in. Here, when you have the description, you want to be as detailed as possible. So if you already know your speakers, be sure to put those in. Put as much description. What is this about? Why are you having it? Don't use acronyms, don't use abbreviations, spell it out, because this information will be picked up and put on the faculty staff newsletter by Ms. Bylander, and that way they'll know what's going on, and they might not know all the abbreviations that we use. It's really helpful if you want this in the WSBA newsletter, and for most events you probably do, to just hit yes on this, and then it will automatically be picked up in the newsletter, and you know that it's going to be advertised in that newsletter. If you scroll down here, you'll see that you definitely want to say how many attendees are anticipated. But if you change that, like if it turns out that it's becoming larger, or it turns out that there's a speaker that is going to be coming after you've already had your room and your time approved, just send Ms. Bylander an email and tell her, okay, this has changed, so she can keep updated on what's going on. That will help protect you if somebody comes along with something similar later. So if this event is available on Zoom, hit yes. And this is where you can put the Zoom information that will be picked up in the WSBA newsletter. If you hit yes on that, it's an easy way to get everything advertised. If it's something that you think is going to appeal to students who are in 3rd year anywhere, you want to offer the Zoom option so that they can attend also. A lot of times, even if it's only going to be on Zoom, you still want to reserve a room so that people can do the Zoom in that room. So you say yes, whether it's going to be just in person or with Zoom. And then if you go down to the select a room option, this is where you want to carefully think about how many people you really think are going to attend, and try to pick a room that is the smallest room that makes sense for your event, so that the speaker won't feel like, there's 5 people there and they're in 100. So take a look and you see that it shows how many each room seats, and pick 2 options. So pick your first option, but then don't leave it at that. Go ahead and do option 2, so Miss Vilander can give you your second choice if possible. Put down whether you need to have any audio visual needs, and then the other requests or comments. This is a very important box. This can save you a lot of time if you're having something like a weekly meeting for your organization. You do not want to have to go through the tedium of doing the form week after week after week. Ms. Feinlander says, I will do that for you. Just put in here that you would like to meet weekly in room 106 or whatever it is at that specific time. Be sure to tell her the start date and the end date. Don't just say end of semester, say exactly what date you want her to end, and then she will reserve that. Now that can only be done 1 semester at a time, so you can't do that in perpetuity, but you can do that for the whole semester. This is another important box if you're having an outside event. Perhaps you are tired of Chartwell's food and you would like to, or maybe you're tired of Florida's pizza and you would like to have an event off campus where you don't have the food restrictions, or you just need a bigger venue. Be sure to go ahead and use this form, put in this box, hey, we're going to have the Barristers Ball, for example, and this is where it's going to be. That way it's picked up in the faculty staff newsletter. All the faculty and staff go like, oh, I'm putting that on my calendar. I'm not going to make plans for that event. People can see it on the school calendar, and everybody kind of knows what's going on. Going through back, thank you. I think that's enough on that. We can go back to the policy. The policy, if you go through it, it has lots of helpful links. It has the link for if you need to reserve library study rooms. It takes you right to the library where you can reserve those study rooms. You can't reserve study rooms, like you can't reserve 102 just as an individual student for a study room, because during finals, everybody would be taking those, and people that hadn't reserved rooms would be wandering around going like, where can I study? So only the study rooms in the library can be used. But if a room is free, people can use the rooms for study, just as you always have. You want to be sure not to promise a speaker that they will be able to have an event at a particular time without having first reserved that room and time. So get that room and time reserved. Ask the speaker, are they available at the time that you have? Now, if they can't do that date, ask them for several dates and say, listen, I'm gonna go see if I can reserve that, and I will get back with you. But if you come to me and say, this is so unfair because I told the speaker that they could come on next Wednesday, but now the reservation isn't being accepted, I'll be like, sorry, you got it backwards. I'm not going to stick up for you. Then you have the painful process of calling the speaker. Once you have gotten the reservation affirmation back from Ms. Bylander, that's when you actually have the reservation. Just putting the form in does not give you the reservation. You have to get that reservation form back from her, or she might send you an email saying, sorry, there's a conflict, try to think of a different day. sometimes people get confused because they see empty rooms available. They go like, I know there's empty rooms available, so why wasn't my event approved? It's because there's not going to be enough audience for your presentation that day, or there's going to be a conflict on what you want to do that day. We could fill up the rooms each day, but there'd only be an audience of a few people each time, and that would just be sad. One thing that you want to really think about doing, and this will help you meet your WSBA requirements for how many events you have to have as organizations, is strongly consider co-sponsoring. Co-sponsoring is fabulous. It saves you a lot of money if you can co-sponsor with other organizations. And you might think about co-sponsoring with the centers. Dean Leisinger and Ms. Vilander can help you with that. Sometimes you can get money for that, I'm not promising, but you might be able to save more money with that because they may be able to chip in. The PDO office sometimes can co-sponsor events. So think about co-sponsoring because you get a much larger audience and you get to save a lot of money so you can have other events. Let's see here. Once in a while, this doesn't come up so much now that we actually have a film society, so they take all the heavy lifting on copyright law. But if you want to show a film, I won't go through all the details, but on the scheduling policy that is on the student org page, you want to take a look to make sure you don't violate any copyright law, and all the details are there. If you want to invite a speaker who is an elected official or a candidate for office, you must get that approved by Dean Leisinger first. He has to do the heavy lifting of getting it approved through the university. That's just to make sure that there isn't any kind of somebody kind of campaigning on one side without us providing the opportunity for somebody on the other side. Usually you cannot reserve the faculty reading room, the roving room, the Kansas room. Those are generally reserved for faculty and staff. And rooms 321 and 327 are generally not available during the school hours, the class hours. So 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, but you can reserve those for evenings and weekends. A lot of times people don't think about reserving the pit, but if it's going to be a big event where you want the whole pit, or I mean the law school commons, if you need to go ahead and reserve it, like for a blood drive, that has to be reserved. But as far as just tabling, just doing regular tabling, you don't have to make any reservations for that. Now, if you want one of the favored tables, I should have shown that on the drop-down screen on the form, but there's a place where you can reserve one of the big three, you know, when you come down the stairway and all of a sudden you see it. If you want to make sure you have one of those prime spots, it gives you a place to reserve table 1, table 2, or table 3. If you're going to have a big event in the pit where you need tables moved, you need to contact me and Director Gross so that we can talk with the custodians and the facilities to get everything moved and moved back. Do that at least a week in advance. And I told you it's going to happen. Okay, as usual, I'm going to ignore that for just a few minutes, just like I do in the morning. But I'm going to hurry up here. You want to be sure to have speakers sign a photo release form. If and the way to do that is on the guide. Be sure to offer speakers water, food if there's food being served. Make sure that they get some after they eat, and send them a thank you. Let's just do really quickly Chartwells. There's basically just a few ways, and this will be covered in great detail with the treasurers and presidents tomorrow, but there's just a few ways of having food on campus. And that is primarily, unless you just bring your individual lunches, that is through Chartwell's or by Glory Days. And we'll go over in detail how you can do all the different ordering. But basically it's Glory Days or through Chartwell's doing the student org menu, or contacting the dean's office and saying you want to use the main Chartwell's ordering. Any orders using WSBA funds must have the WSBA treasurer's signature, or the food cannot be ordered. You basically have your WSBA account. Most organizations have their agency account, and then a few, like, well, actually just PAD has their national outside account. But if you are using WSBA funds, that has to be approved by the WSBA treasurer. Now, your agency account is something that you might want to consider using last, because your agency account you keep year to year, whereas those WSBA funds, they get clawed back at the end of every fiscal year. So you might think about using those first. Just very quickly, I want to make sure that if you're thinking about doing an outside charity, doing a fundraiser for an outside charity, there is requirements in this policy that you need to read. And it's important to understand that you cannot use WSBA funds to give to an outside charity. If you want to give, have a fundraiser for an outside charity, there's specific rules there that you have to follow, but you can't give WSBA funds to an outside charity, because those are student organization fees and everybody didn't vote to fund that charity. Yeah, Dean Leisinger, I would like you to finish up on anything I forgot.
I'm guessing should we talk with you about I assume Director Grau is going to talk about contracts, or do you want me to touch on that? You got it. Great.
Yes.
I only take just a couple moments here quickly. Dean Lowry did a wonderful job of kind of covering everything. A couple of highlights, specifically with your student organization officer updates. Understand that a lot of faculty members get requests for students that may be interested in job opportunities, externship opportunities, paid sort of research sort of things. And the first place we go is to that organization list. So make sure you have it current so we can give you guys that information and get your organization connected. Especially rural as an example for me, I regularly get requests. So make sure you're out there, make sure you're current. We'll use it for that particular purpose. Second thing to touch on in that area really quickly, understand that your faculty advisor, most of us really truly believe this is your organization. We leave you alone. We don't kind of try to control what you're doing, but use us as a resource. Let us know what's going on. Tell us when you're having a meeting, and we're happy to come and be as involved and supportive as you would like us to be. Otherwise, if you're kind of doing your own thing, we're as happy as well to kind of let you do your own thing in that regard. So understand and use the faculty advisors for that particular purpose. In regards to the rooms, Dean Lowry really talked about use the smaller room possible. Right now, I think we're like about 25-ish, maybe 30-ish people in here. And you'll note that it looks kind of sparse, but there's a lot of you in here. Use a smaller room. It's real. I really strongly encourage you to do that. She touched as well on co-sponsoring with the centers or other programs. Come talk to me. I will not take control of your program, but I am happy to connect you with different foundation funds. A number of our centers want to spend foundation funds because they get replenished when we do that. So many times I'm happy to kind of connect you with those sorts of things and co-sponsor. Okay. If you cancel, please let Donna know as quickly as possible. People are always looking for rooms. The quicker you do that, the quicker we can fill something back in and make good use of that particular room or that particular location. Whenever you are in doubt about trying to bring a speaker in, trying to have an event, thinking about something new and different to do, feel free to talk to any of us and get advice, and we'll rope in the other folks that need to be roped in to talk about things that are kind of out of the norm, out of the ordinary. For example, we've done trips to the the power plant in the past. We've done trips down to Cessna before under our business transaction law center. I'm thrilled with those ideas. If you have those ideas with your organization, you don't have the funding, I may well have the funding. So we're happy to partner with you and do things like that that are out of the norm that we haven't done before. Just because we haven't done them doesn't mean you shouldn't come to us and talk to us. We're happy to do those creative and different sort of things. I think that's touched on everything you did. Thank you for a couple minutes there. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Ms. Bylander, anything that we missed together?
So that's what I was gonna comment on. So many people will reserve rooms and then they will not let me know if they've been canceled ahead of time, so.
Yeah, definitely email Donna Bylander if you not a youth reservation.
And preferably before the event instead of at 12:15 when you have it reserved, say, oh, we're canceled.
Yes, as early as possible. So, Corey, I don't think Donna was going to say, Corey, anything that you want to add? I know you're gonna do quite a bit during the treasury.
Yeah, more in depth tomorrow, but just make sure you're getting food orders in a timely manner, especially for Chartwells. If we don't turn in the food order to Chartwells at least a week ahead of time, it's a 20% extra fee on top of what you're already paying. So try to get it, especially get it to Brittany super early so that she has time to sign off, double check that you guys have funds, and then get the order to us so that we can actually place the order.
At least give us, like, get it to me at least 2 days before your deadline, because I've gotten people to need me like the day of, like, their week, so deadline comes in, and I'm like, I've got classes till 5 and have work or something after, like, I don't have time to get it through. So it helps giving me that cushion day. So give yourself cushion days, because it gives myself cushion days and gives Spurge.
So that Rupert and Vice President, anything on this part? I know you're going to be talking later and tomorrow, but anything you want to add?
Not particularly, but I'll introduce myself.
Yes, definitely.
President, Washburn Student Board Association.
Yes, and Vice President.
So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Kylie Dean, new Vice President of WSBA, and just that way, if you guys see me in the hallway, have a question, please feel free to come talk to me. I am a highly sociable person, and so I will talk to your office about anything student board related.
My apologies to the Zoom people, but we just had the WSBA president and vice president introduce themselves. And why don't you come up just so that they can see you in Zoom? Basically,
As they're doing that, can I add something?
yes.
You'll hear the reference to the pit. I don't know if they continue telling the story. During our era, the area out here was literally 3 feet deep, had a wall around it, and had a little classroom to the side with microwaves and everything else there. Hence, it was literally the pit. In case that story has not gone on, you'll hear us regularly reference that.
Hi, sorry guys, nice to see all of you.
Thank you. So now everybody's at least seen the WSBA president and vice president. When you have questions, they will be your first resource. And then if they don't know the answers, they will come to me, and then I will never have the answers. So I will go directly to Corey and she will answer everything. No, but thank you very much for attending. We now are going to hear from Director Bra, who has some really important information for you. And hopefully it's important. Yes, it is.
Hey all, hey everybody on Zoom. Ooh, there's a lot of Zoom people. Okay, I'm going to talk about facility stuff really quickly first because contracts take a little bit longer. Basically, the rule for facilities items. If you need special tables, chairs set up, things like that, as Dean Lowry said, please make the requests early. Day of requests are really not well received by anyone here, so please don't do that. If you need that stuff, plan ahead. Okay, that's the basic rule for facilities. Let me or let Corey know.
If you see a problem,
Also that.
Yes.
Also that if lights are out, if the toilet is running, if the sink is making a weird sound, if I don't know, God forbid, there's a bat flying through a classroom, please let us know and we will take care of those items, but I can't do anything about it until I know about it. Okay. All right, let's talk about contracts. Can we go? Yay, to the contracts page. Okay. So what's a contract? This is not contracts class, but you need to think back to that class. Basically, if you are entering into a financial arrangement that binds your student organization to pay a provider of some type of service or anything, it's a contract. And the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I have the authority to sign that contract? And the answer is always no. You do not have the authority to sign that contract. In fact, nobody at the law school has that authority, which is why we'll talk about that here in a second. Arrangements you need to think about, especially for your student orgs. Speakers, if you're providing them an honorarium or some kind of pay. Venue contracts, food vendors for your events like bar review, barristers, things like that. If you have some sort of outside organization event off campus and you need contracts for that, any of those count for this, okay? So don't think that you can sign even just to say, hey, yes, we'll pay the deposit. You still can't sign for that, unfortunately. And that's set across campus, that's not us. We just have to follow that policy because that's what the board has decided, okay? So who needs to review? I do the first review. There are some basic things that we have to include in our contracts here. There's some language that has to be included. And as a matter of course, I add that when you give it to me if it's not already there. The next step then is that contracts go across campus to have our general counsel and our director of purchasing review as well. Once they review, they may send it back to me for some additional redlining to be reviewed by your vendor. That process takes a while. Contracts are an iterative thing and they take a while to get through. So the earlier you get your contracts to me, the better, okay? Once the vendor reviews those red lines, they will send it back to us and we will get it back across campus if they push back on anything. And then we'll get the changes made, hopefully. Sometimes, and this doesn't happen often, but sometimes there will be things that vendors want us to do that our general counsel will not agree to. If it comes to that, you cannot enter into that contract for whatever that service vendor venue is. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind. While most things, 99% of contracts go through, there are sometimes contracts that don't happen. Okay, and it could be just because that vendor has a lot of stuff in their contract that's maybe not necessary or really binds us into some liability issues. So be aware of that. Okay, how long does review last? I know you guys don't like this answer, but it really is as long as it takes. It's not a day turnaround type of thing. The only thing that really has that type of turnaround is if you are bringing in a speaker and we're providing an honorarium, because the university has a basic agreement for that. It's already been approved. We just have to input the information and get the signatures. That's the only time you can see 24-hour turnaround. And that's only if our director of purchasing is available in that cycle. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? I know this can be super confusing because it's a weird process. Again, who can sign? Nobody in the law school can sign contracts. The only 4 people on campus who can sign a contract are the president, the vice president of administration and treasurer, the controller, and the director of purchasing. All of them are across campus, okay? Tips for a smoother contract process. In the responsible party section, or like purchaser, lessee, secondary party, however they have it labeled, please don't use Washburn Law, your own name, the organization name. Use Washburn University, because that's the first thing I change when I get contracts from y'all. Make sure that Washburn University is a responsible party because they're the legal entity that can sign for these things, okay? Second thing, make sure the contract has a signature line for all parties. Sometimes they don't. And then all documents have party names if they're not just left with blanks, okay? Does that make sense? I know I'm making you guys think back to contracts. Don't leave that stuff blank. And make sure that your contract has as much detail about your event as possible. That includes the date, the times, if we need to know number of attendees, if we need to know head count for meals, trying to think of other things. If you're bringing in a speaker paying an honorarium, we also need their tax information. If they're running their taxes through a company or an entity they have set up, we're going to need their W-9 as well. So if you send me a contract that is missing information, be aware that it slows down the process, because then I have to ask you for that, because I can't send it across campus if there are blanks. They want to approve a contract that they don't know the complete terms for. Does that make sense for everybody? Basically, start as early as possible and get me your stuff as early and as far in advance as you can. Awesome, thank you.
Just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
So much, Director Grab. One thing, even though it was good news about the honorariums being a quick turnaround usually, I personally am not a fan of offering anybody honorariums. I mean, I know Law Journal does it for their big event, but we have wonderful alums who are dying to speak here for free. And so I would strongly urge you to have all these great free people rather than use your funds for honorariums for somebody, you know, that isn't going to be quite as excited for coming here. So that's just my pitch for that. And I know Dean Leisinger can tell you a ton of people that would be great. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you can also just do a thank you gift. Davis back here with our marketing department has a lot of swag, really cool swag, and our alums are always super excited to get it.
That's great. And also, Dean Leisinger, do you still do that list where you kind of have a roster of what speakers have been given what gifts?
We have the institutional knowledge and then right under here in the back. I'll do that.
So,
But as a rule, we have alumni that have done everything
yeah.
in every specialty area, especially when we're bringing on Zoom.
Yeah.
Come talk to us. We can connect you with folks. I challenge you to bring an area we can't find.
For free.
For
Okay, thank you so much, Director Shaw.
Hey everyone, I'm Martin Stensky, work in the library up on the 4th floor. Please see me around. I've seen most of you around also. I'm going to touch on two things real quick. Got some good news is that we'll be moving into a new law school building sometime, probably after Memorial Day. The bad news is there is this space in the building. It's over there across from PDO. It's the student organization storage room. And it looks like it needs a pretty good going through. And probably be talking to Caitlin and Kyle a little bit about this and going through it. They're shaking their heads like they know about it already. And but you know, we had some movers come by who are going to want to bid on bidding on our move, and I kind of showed them that room. It's kind of hard to bid on something like that. So that'll be coming up here in the next. Probably want to get that done before the final exams start, so it's ready to go. More good news is there are 26 student organization lockers in the new building. And so be able to store specific student organization material in those lockers. And they're going to be about that big. So that's coming down the pike, and we will need to have you guys help get that finished. The other thing I wanted to touch on real quick is Dean Lowry mentioned we created this new email address called website at washburnlaw.edu. In the past, a lot of people just sent things to me to get it done. I'm planning on retiring later this year. So things that are sent to that email address go to several people. Ryan Purcell over here in the Assistant Director of Marketing. He'll be primarily responsible for taking care of making those changes. But if you have any changes that you need to make to the website, please send them to that website at washburnlaw.edu address, and it is listed at the top of the student organizations page. And that's what I have, unless there are any questions.
On the closet, so the closet has a lot of student organization specific stuff in it. If you want access, or your student organization wants access, then let me or Kylie know. I'm the second Martin that we really today. And again, you kind of only have that locker space for storage. So if we can pitch it, then you can just let us know that we can top it. But I don't be student organization stuff that they want to keep for next year. But do keep that storage in mind. And then I think that some student organizations also have lockers here now that have stuff in them. If you or your board hasn't talked to you about it, you may have one and you don't know. So
I will be reaching out to people
Okay.
because I'm sure that it has gotten lost through COVID times, that these lockers even exist and that there are items in them. So I will be reaching out to the organizations.
So those emails will go out to those people, but then just keep in mind for your student members that are deadline.
Director Wisniewski, and thank you, President Rupert. Now, Dr. Bacon.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carly Davis. I'm the Director of Marketing Communications here at the law school, like Martin mentioned. This is Ryan Purcell, the Assistant Director. We're just going to talk about a few things that we can be a resource for you on and help you out with. The first is logos and copyright. Rather than trying to find a logo online or just pulling one off of Google, you can email us and we will get you the official Washburn Law logo. There's the full logo that says Washburn University School of Law. There's also the scales. If your student organization wants to have their own logo, we can build one off of the main one. If you want to do something more than that, I am happy to take it. There's a big marketing committee on campus that approves things like that. And so they see them all the time. I'm on that committee. It's no big deal. So if that's something that you want to do, just come and talk to me and we can work out how to get that going. We also have brand guidelines online. So if you need the official Washburn blue color or some of the secondary colors, that's available. The quickest way to find it is just searching Washburn brand guidelines and it pops up as one of the first results. So use those if you're doing a project. If you need help kind of setting that up on your computer, Ryan and I can both help with that. We're happy to do that. And then event promotion is something we also help out with. We can print a few signs in our office, but something that we're starting to do that we're testing right now is digital screens throughout the building. We'll have 10 of them.
Not that many.
Okay, look, there'll be quite a few.
We'll have 5 to 7.
Yeah, so rather than printing out posters, you can send us digital files for that. Those need to be 1920 by 1080. If you need help setting that up too, we can help you. If you just have details about your event or like, I don't know anything about designing a poster, you can send us the info and we'll set something up really quick to get on those screens so you can promote your events. You can also send MP4s with that too, so it can be a little snazzy in there.
Yeah, they've got templates on Canva too. I'm
Yeah.
sure all of you have used canva.com and they got like 1920. We can give you all the dimensions that you require. That's great. Well, I know we can do one for you.
Yeah. And then social media, you've probably seen some of our channels. We have Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We are always up for promoting any student org stuff. So if you have an event coming up and you're like, hey, I really want this to go on there, just let me know. You can also let Casey Smith know this semester. They do a lot of our social media. If you see a trend on TikTok that you're like, I think this would be awesome to have our student org take part in or faculty to take part in, send it to us so we can get it rolling really quick. We like playing around with stuff like that and it'll help everyone. And then finally, event photography. There's a waiver available. If you have someone come in, you need to get the waiver signed. It's available in the student section of the website. Yeah. So make sure that get that signed, and then I'm going to let Ryan talk a little bit about how to get photography to happen and to make sure that he can be there.
Well, we'd like to cover everything we can, but our schedules are all very busy. So I want to make sure that if it's a priority, you have something that you want taken, a photo of. We'd like you to submit it via the marketing project request form. There's an option on there that says photography, and you can include something that says, so we like emphasize that if you have a guest speaker or something that you want us to focus on. But yeah, I try to take photos as much as I can, but my
schedule fills up like everyone else's, so it's better if you absolutely have someone you're gonna, that you want to emphasize, let us know.
And that marketing project request form is on the current students page. It's on the second column. Yep. And it has beyond just photography, if you need help with any type of project, you can do a request on that as well for flyers, create social media posts, pretty much everything that you would think marketing could do. So I just want to reiterate that we're a resource here for you. We don't like to say no, so come to us and we'll try to figure out a way to help if possible and promote your events and your student work. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah.
What are the guidelines for like creating an Instagram for an organization? Like, I know also has an Instagram, but I do CLS too, and I don't think we have one. So if we wanted to make an Instagram, what are the rules?
Create one from scratch, like creative.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we have.
You can create one. If you want to come talk to us, we can make sure we like to keep permissions on a lot of the accounts, not that we go in and do anything with them, but just for turnover and transitioning. We're on them, and since Meta kind of runs Facebook and Instagram, like all of that's in a big portal that we can do. So we can help with that. Just come and chat with us and get it set up.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Touch on something here.
Oh, good. Kind of.
Sorry.
Copyright. We don't change logos, don't grab things from other places online. If you have a question about something, come to us. I mean, we are a law school, so we have professionals here that can figure that out. But like anything you do, don't take stuff online. I know we had a group that used an image from online that on a project they were doing, which if they'd come to us, we have access to images through a stock library that we could have got the exact same thing in a higher quality. So most of the time we can get you a solution on that and are happy to do that. So
I used to work with Kansas Bar Association, and our executive director would always tell us, if it's online, you can use it. I'm like, no. We have IP attorneys that will tell you no. So we would still, okay, sir, do the legal route, but
yeah.
but just please make sure we are abiding by copyright laws, and if you have questions, just contact us about them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to make sure before I have Mr. Russo, is there any questions on the Zoom? Anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions. So, and do we have, is everybody in the comment box have in the chat? Is everybody signed in? Make sure that you've signed in with your name and organization and organization position. It looks like everybody's doing that. Good. So, Mr. Russo, along with Ms. Payne and Ms. McMurray and Treasurer Winter, they have so much to cover. There's a whole day tomorrow for the presidents and the treasurers, but they want to make sure that they get the basics down so that everybody hears it, because of course handling finances is the trickiest part of being an organization officer. So I will have Mr. Russo start off with the big fundamentals, and then the details will come tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, hi, everybody. They saved the best for last. Ta-da. No, I'm kidding. They left this for last because, you know, finance can be a little droll. So hopefully at the end, you'll be a little bit enlightened. So Dean Lowry said, my name is Julie DeRusso. Don't look at it. You'll never be able to say it if you look at it. It rhymes with Robinson Crusoe. And besides that, I'm the only Julie in the building. Just ask for Julie or Julie D. So my office is right across from admissions. You know, there's that sitting area. If you're looking for me, I have one door. I am the accountant under the, I have to look at this, the Director of Academic Budget and Operational Manager. And that position, we just found that has been filled, so I'm thrilled. That person has two doors. The main door is across from the Dean's Suite where Corey, Ms. Murray, and of course the Dean is. So just to kind of give you an idea where we are. So Corey Payne, we've already talked to her, talked about Corey, and she is in the Dean's Suite with Donna McMurray, who couldn't be here for this. The importance of those two is twofold. They both help with food ordering, and we already touched on food in the campus here can only be for you yourself from home or someplace else. But if it's more than two people or more than one person, then it's got to go through Chartwell's or Glory Days. If you want to have something off campus, that's different, but that, and it's not just restricted to school hours. This is after hours and that kind of thing. So we wanted to kind of emphasize that point. Of course, we're going to go into the, as Dean Lowry said, the special training tomorrow. So you'll learn a little bit more about that. But Corey also does student travel. We'll go into that tomorrow. The one thing that you should know is before you purchase anything or book your travel, to talk to her first to make sure. This is usually a problem. I'm just going to give you an example. We have a tip maximum calculation that is 20% on the subtotal of all food. So that's not intuitive for most people, but that's the kind of thing. So if you decide to give a 40% tip, you're only getting 20% back on that subtotal as a reimbursement. That's just an example. There's more. But the most important part is how do we get money for our organization? So we have on the student, current students page, these are the funding mechanisms. And you see that little chart. This is kind of, if you're a site learner, this is kind of helpful. So for your student organization, you have three funding methods. Your WSBA allocated funds, the agency account. So the WSBA allocated funds is how much money WSBA says you can spend 300, 500, 100, whatever. Those are funded through student activity fees, which therefore is general fund money and cannot be used on things like alcohol. And also those funds also, as Dean Lowry said, cannot be donated to outside charities. So those are the two big restrictions. We'll go into more tomorrow for those of you that get to attend. The other account that we're talking about is the agency account. So prior to you, if your organization have an agency account, it's just like a checking account, but it's held here at the university, has to be held here at the university due to GAAP standards and controls and that kind of thing. You don't want an outside checking account, believe us. So for the WSBA funds, those are use it or lose it. They allocate those monies. Let's say you only spend 150 out of your 300, that other 150 is gone. So not for you to use anymore. However, past fundraising efforts of past members of your organization, that balance will grow through on the agency account funds. So that's kind of a really important distinction when you're doing things like requesting food from Corey or Donna, or asking for someone to come in and maybe you want to have an event and have some Chartwell's food, that kind of thing. So wanted to get those two. The third thing that we already talked about, which Dean Leisinger and also Director Pine, who's not here today for PDO, is that they can help you with some of the funding that might be available through jointly sponsored in the centers and that kind of thing. So I wanted to get over that because everybody wants to know where do we get our money from. So we want to do fun things. We already talked about, don't assume that purchases, including food and travel, will be covered. Contact us first. And here's a good way to contact us. Our email for accounting purposes is accounting@washburnlaw.edu, correct? Thank you. I don't have it
And it's
memorized.
checked by multiple people, so if one of us happens to be out, someone will get to you hopefully within 24 hours.
That's right. You'll also want to check, so besides checking with Corey, you can check with your organization's treasurer, WSBA treasurer, Donna Corey said that already. So the other item that I kind of want to emphasize, if you go down under the agency account area, is receipts. So this is one of the areas that we find a little problematic. When we receive receipts, let's say you take somebody out to lunch and the waiter's going to give you a receipt, and then you're going to give them the credit card, and then they're going to come back with the receipt showing the credit card transaction. This also happens at gas stations. We need an itemized receipt showing a few items that are on. Can we go down just a little hair more? Also, there's nice videos here showing if you have a question on how things are filled out. But the itemized receipt needs to have the vendor's name, the payment confirmation, so showing that it ran on your Visa card or you paid cash, that kind of thing. The date of the transaction, the description of the items purchased. So you can imagine this comes into play if you go somewhere that serves alcohol and we don't have a description. How do we know that's not alcohol? It would probably get denied by finance across the campus. And then any other pertinent information that may be. So what's helpful for us is if you have items that, let's say I went to Walmart, I bought 3 personal things for me and 5 personal things for the student organization. We'd rather you have separate receipts. I understand sometimes that doesn't happen or we forget. What is very helpful is if we have those itemized, we can figure out, okay, this is food, it's taxed at this price, that kind of thing. We can help you back into the tax so you get a maximum reimbursement. So that's helpful too. The other very important thing on receipts is do not help us by highlighting anything. The university scans in all their receipts and it scans it in black and white. So that means anything you highlight in pink, yellow, blue, green is black. And we can't see what you're trying to have. So you can point, write an arrow, underline it, circle it. That's fine if you're trying to get that kind of across. That kind of covers my important items that I want to make sure we kind of get through to everybody, because almost anybody's going to have a receipt for something they buy, copy paper or something like that. We're redoing our bulletin board and we need some items. And we wanted to mention these things. So
If you don't want to go through the reimbursement process and have the funds come out of your pocket, there is a pre-purchase authorization that you can fill out, right? Exactly what you want. If you want to order something off of Amazon, provide the link.
yes,
There's a pre-purchase form online. If you want to not have funds come out of your pocket ahead of time, you can provide the link, all of that.
That is on the WSBA website.
Yeah, it's on the WSBA website.
Also
It-
find all the forms for
Yeah.
ordering and everything else.
Yeah, it's all right here. It's one of the form options. That way that form will come to me. I will purchase all of it on a university card. It will be billed to your organization. But you guys won't be out any money in the
After you get
process.
it signed by me, if you're
Yes.
using WSBA form.
Yes,
Everything for WSBA forms must, using our funds, needs to come to me before it goes to Cory.
yes.
yes. So in summary, that all needs to go to Brittany before it goes to
Yes.
Cory, if you're using WSBA funds. So in those 3
Yes.
things, that first one. So I think I covered everything. The Dean Lowry would like me to
Yeah,
cover.
the only reason I'm coming up here is just because of the Zoom people. Yes, I think that is the primary thing. We do have, just because it might not just be an officer that picks up pizza orders, maybe we should say, so that you can spread the word to anybody in your organization, that if pizza is ordered, whoever picks up the pizza needs to be very sure to get that itemized receipt from the delivery person, and that needs to be turned around to the dean's office within 24 hours, like immediately turn that in to them. And don't tip the guy. I know that breaks your heart. Oh, no, we've got to tip him. No, it's already built in. Believe me, everybody's making their money on this thing, so you don't need to add a tip on that. And one other thing that's pretty new is that we do have this kind of new thing where we organizations can buy Pepsi products. You can buy them at Sam's Club or any place. And that's actually on the student org page I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but there is a thing that if you hit the link, it will say all the Pepsi products that you can buy. You can go ahead and purchase that and have it on campus without getting in trouble from Chartwells, because that's something that's been approved by them. So if you're thinking about buying a Pepsi product so that you just have a bunch for your meeting or something, you can do that. And oh, there you go. Director Wisniewski, do you mind getting that link of list of approved Pepsi products? There's quite a few weird things there. Now, go ahead and use that list. I know PAD went through a lot of hoops just to get a few cans of Crush for their Valentine's party, which was a very cute idea. Crush, here's for your crush. But it wasn't on this list, so they had to go through a whole lot of hoops just to be able to do that on a little tabling event. But there's some things that you would never expect to be on here that if you get it off that list, you're okay. A Chartwells person can come by, and if they give you any lip, just say, hey, take a look.
We highly encourage that too, because Chartwells charges an arm and a leg. I think it's $1.50 or $1.50 or $1.25 a can. And like $7 for a 2-liter. So if you can pre-purchase Pepsi products for your meetings, events, whatever, we highly encourage that.
Touching that for a second, just to sure so you guys understand. Just a shorty.
Sorry.
Because institutional knowledge doesn't come back from time to time. Understand that Chartwells has a contract across campus. They provide wonderful things in different parts and different pieces across campus. So we don't get to negotiate that. Every kind of new student group comes back and says, well, that's not fair. That's not reasonable. We should fight against the authority that be. That's not a possibility. So understand that's part of Chartwells. That's why Chartwells gets to do all these sorts of things in the background. And please abide by it. It makes our life, everyone's life, very much saner to be able to do that. Secondly, we joke about it from time to time. The great pizza negotiations of 2014 is why we're able to have this whole Chartwells exception for Glory Days. And we're looking at maybe changing that. We're looking at maybe updating that. Understand that that was fought on your behalf 6-8 years ago. So when we do that, that's why it's Glory Days. That's why it's that sort of thing.
And it's much improved from what it was before we were able to have Glory
And we
Days.
are different than everybody else. So that fight has already been fought. So please follow those rules. It makes it so much easier for us to get cooperative things across campus as well.
That's right. Any other questions? I'm going. I'll see some of you tomorrow, where we get to have all the fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So any final questions from anybody before we wrap it up? Yes, Peter.
We'll provide like a Zoom, premium Zoom for student organization.
I'm so glad you asked that, Peter. So we don't have a premium Zoom for students that want to have a meeting that's more than 45 minutes and then you get cut off on your student account. But all you need to do is talk to your faculty advisor or talk to me, and we will set up our own personal account. Just tell us when the meeting or the event's going to be, and we'll set that up for you so that you don't get cut off. Very good point. Any other questions? Any questions from Zoom attendees? All right, thank you very much. See some of you tomorrow.